What's up, everybody on YouTube? It's your boy C for 3, back with another video. You know what I'm saying? It's been a minute. Last video I dropped was talking about cancer season, things like that. But now we're in Leo season, just starting. Shout out to all my Leos. I know y'all happy when Leo season come around. I'm a Leo. Definitely about that time. I've been shining. I've been feeling good, you know. But yeah, we're gonna talk about what to look for Leo season 2K25. You already know basketball and astrology in motion. I do this because it keeps going. Astrology happens every day. If you want to be a high level basketball player, you put in that work daily. Mentally, physically, spiritually, right? It's always 3 levels of everything. You like the number 3, so let's get right into it. So, very informative, you know, share this video, like, comment, subscribe while we getting in. And I'm not going to try to make it super long. I could be long-winded. I hate that. But I'm going to go straight in with this one. So, right now, for Leo season, right, the first thing you're going to hear about are stories about fire, right? And you're going to hear about stories about fire because we all know, you know, that the elements are important, right? So, like, we talk about astrology and all this, you know, they break down water signs, fire signs, air signs, and earth signs, you know, all these things incorporated. And the reason why, if you ask somebody like me, the reason why all this correlates and makes sense is because the elements, right? Like fire, you know, water, you know, air could blow, make anything, air, and then earth, the green, the grass, the earth, right? We can burn plants, we can eat plants. I mean, green is green, right? We know what earth is, tangible things, right? So, as I take a puff, try to take a puff. Anyways, those are things that keep this relevant, so we can actually have a tangible experience with astrology. A lot of people think it's esoteric, wooey, out of touch, hard to grasp, but when you understand the tangibility of the elements, the root of it, you understand how to put things into the right perspective. So with that being said, we are in a fire season, so you're going to hear stories about fires. You know, you might hear wildfires kick off. You might hear stories about places burning, things catching on fire, so you definitely want to be careful if you work a job around fire. Firefighters might be in the news lately. A friend of mine, he's a firefighter. They might have more of a prominence in this season, right? You know, houses burning, cars burning. I seen a car on fire like a couple weeks ago. Somebody in Boston showed me. Cars are always catching on fire in Boston, which is crazy. But you know, just stories about that, you know. And the sun is at 4 degrees Leo, so it'll just be starting up. So you might hear stories about restaurants catching on fire too. Anything, just pay attention. You know, we'll definitely be looking on the lookout for that this season. You know, because last season, you know, we had stories about water, a lot of floods happening in America, a lot of a big flood in Texas happening. R.I.P. to those people in Texas. Even Malcolm Jamal, the guy from Cosby Show, Theo, he died on the last day of cancer season, drowning. We heard a lot of stories about drowning last season. So, yeah, you might hear a lot of stories about smoke too. You know, fire, then it creates smoke. So, watch for that. You know, even stories about, I want to say, overworking, overdoing something. That's almost like an element of fire. Like what I want to say, like being dehydrated, overworked. People dying of heat exhaustion. I want to say that too. Heat exhaustion, fire, Miami Heat. So we might see stories about that. Stay hydrated if you're out there. You know, stories about temperatures rising places and shit just busting. So that'll be an issue. So the next thing to look for Leo season 2K25, all my Leo people, you know, you're gonna hear stories about who is loyal and what is loyalty, the things about loyalty. You know, when you get to Leo season, we talk about Leo people like myself and others, my uncle, you know, the John Morants of the world, the Young Dogs of the world, the Barry Bonds of the world, just Obama of the world. You think loyalty, right? You think about people who you could depend on. You know, Leo is a fixed sign. Fixed signs are people that are very steadfast and loyal. You could depend on them. Other fixed signs in the zodiac would be Scorpio, Leo, Taurus, and Aquarius. You know, these are people you can tend to depend on, consistency based on other things in the birth chart, right? Me myself, I have a lot of fixed placements in the birth chart, so I tend to be more consistent than other people when it comes to things that I work at or things I work on. And this leads to loyalty, right? You talk to a Taurus person, they expect, especially Taurus people, they expect for people to be loyal to them, especially Taurus and Scorpio, that axis, if you know deep astrology, that axis of power, I think they call it, but those signs have the hardest of letting things go. Next is Leo and Aquarius. You know, we can't let shit go, so relationship breakups could be hard, you know, job changes, family issues, things, the houses that are cardinal could be hard for Leo people. So the way we even get to this, the way to understand the psychology of, let's say, Leo being a fixed sign as opposed to like Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio, Leo does it in a fixed fire way. So we could be a type of people that's fixed into workout routines. Think Tom Brady. I want to say Tom Brady is a Leo. Got real popular for having his workout routine. TB12, real fixed way of going about being the GOAT, quote unquote, NFL player. You know, and granted, we're not talking about the conspiracy side of it right now. Talking about the straight, athletic and factual parts of it, because everybody has to play their part. So Leos are perfect for this script in life, to be athletics and to be fixed and to win in that way. So at least the loyalty, right? He's with the Patriots for like the longest time in his career. You know, you think about that, with the Patriots for the longest time in his career. Somebody like John Moran, I can see, might stay for like the Grizzlies his whole career, unless something happens with the Luka saga. Go back to Tom Brady, you know, won most of his championships with the Patriots, put them on the map years and years. I mean, he stayed with the team until he was a 40-year-old guy, you know, very fixed in how he probably liked to pass the ball, throw spirals. He liked people to run certain routes, things like that. So you can see that. And then what happens if a Leo is, myself included, right? Like, I try not to switch teams on the men's league I play with. I try to stay with my favorite team since literally a child. I've been a Pelicans fan, a New Orleans fans, Kings fan, Pacers fans. Thanks to Mike Bibby, Reggie Miller, certain players I love, certain teams I love. People don't know that about me. Now I'm in Boston Celtics fans, Paul Pierce, Larry Bird, Rondo, Tatum, Brown. Like, I stick with my teams. I'm not like a team hopper, team jumper, bandwagon, as they say. You know, like for the finals, I went for the Pacers all the way through. Like, I betted money and everything. Lost some money too. Shout out to the Pacers. You know, shout out to Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller has some Scorpio in his birth chart, so Reggie Miller, you know, is an example of another fixed sign that's staying that career with one squad. But back to Tom Brady, you know, we talk about loyalty being the issue for this season. The anger comes out of Leos when they feel the disloyalty. So the thing with him and Bill Belichick, you know, from my perspective and how I looked at it, it looked like Tom felt betrayed. Certain disloyalty happened with him and Bill Belichick. You know, maybe the coach, when I think they drafted a couple quarterbacks to kind of replace him. You know, him being a Leo on that high horse, that pride that we have sometimes. We think we're the king of the Lion King energy. Don't want to come off that hill. Might have felt a little disrespected with Bill. A lot of disloyalty. Like, I'm Tom, I got this. Until I'm off, you should trust me. And that kind of was the theme for him going to Tampa Bay. But the reason why we get this about Leo with loyalty and integrity, we can break it down esoterically with Leos being ruled by the sun. So when we think about the sun, you know, we all depend on the sun. Like, everything in the world depends on it. Animals, natures, humans, technology, solar-powered cars. It's the first source of energy. So when you think about loyalty, steadfast, integrity, these are properties of the sun. You know, we depended on this summer season to come around every year to have crops to grow, to just keep the whole thing going. I don't gotta go too deep in it. That's kind of common sense, especially if you've been watching my channel, you're a subscriber. But the sun in Leo goes hand in hand with being steadfast, you know, which is why in medical astrology, Leo rules the heart and the back. You know, when you lose your heart, you don't have a heart to do something, it's hard to do anything. That's like one of the most supportive art organs in the middle. The heart is the pump. We rely on that heart. If you have a heart attack, it don't matter how healthy the rest of your brain and body was, you're out. Same thing with your back. Back supports that stability, especially as an athlete. You know what I'm saying? You want to have a strong core, posture, back. We carry a lot on our back, the weight of the world on my back, shoulders. We use those acronyms to let us know that we depend on that. You know what I'm saying? We depend on that. So, the third thing to look for this Leo season, 2K25, you know, like, comment, subscribe, is how to be more creative and have fun with a winning mindset, you know. Leo is all about, like I say, the sun, and we all have this in our birth chart. If you want a birth chart, tap in with me. You know, prices, birth charts, $20. Personal astrology work, $10 per month. But we all have Leo in our birth chart. So Leo is about how we shine. It's like the sun, the stage, the spotlight. You know, we can make the sun shine radiant on everybody, but then it goes a time when the stage, when there's a, see that little spotlight behind me right there? There's a little spot of light. And that little sun, my little sunshine. There's like a sun, my little sunshine, some little shit. But you understand what I'm saying? How can we shine in our own life, you know? And the best way to think about this was the new moon and Leo rituals. I didn't really talk about it. I should have talked about it, but nah. I've been busy working. I'm going to try to break down these other new rituals that are going to come out. But full moon rituals, full moon in Aquarius, we'll see. But one of the biggest things we can take is the new moon and Leo rituals. We saw R.I.P. Ozzy, R.I.P. Malcolm, R.I.P. Hulk Hogan. You know, the three things that they have in common where they were all in the spotlight, all actors, you know, prominent on the TV screen during the 80s, you know, a time based on astrology where certain astrological placements were. We weren't this far in the digital age, so it was more of a natural celebrity feeling based on having one medium, which was the TV, which was that spotlight. You know what I'm saying? You keeping up with me? So, kind of the correlation you can see this Leo season going forward. This is what, July 27th today. So I'm making this video. Those rituals, those sacrifices were last weekend, starting with Ozzy and Malcolm. But how can we be like that, right? How can we be creative like Ozzy and Malcolm and Hulk and create characters and personas that we do in real life that is creative and fun, right? Like, for example, Hulk Hogan is one of the best examples of somebody creating a persona. His name is not Hulk Hogan. His name is Terry. And my name is not Seed, but my name is Seed because I'm a Leo and I understand how to create something that is real based on you believing it and putting faith in it and putting the fire into it and putting it in motion and giving life to this character and persona on your stage in your own life. So back to Hulk Hogan, you know, coming up with that whole gimmick like wrestlers have to do, even basketball players, we come up with nicknames and certain names for our moves and maybe personas. Think of Ant-Man for the Timberwolves right now. I don't even know who else. Ice, Trae Young with the Hawks, Ice Trae. You know, we got these maybe superhero elements, and Leo deals with all this anime and movie. It's the house of creativity, the house of children, the house of all these things. With Leo, how can you create that in your own life and put it on stage? And it's kind of like what social media is. This is why Leo's and Aquarius, that axis, we tend to be good at social media because we know how to stage it, spotlight it. If I didn't lose you guys, so how can you shine in your own life, and how can you be creative and that's fun and have a winning mindset? You know, Hulkamania, fun. You know, red feathers, yellow feathers coming out, having fun with it. Malcolm Jamal Warner creating that show, Malcolm and Eddie. You know, how to transition from Theo, that character that was probably created for him as a kid, into stepping into the Malcolm role, the more when he had his dreads out, and with the comedian Eddie Griffin showing more of a philosophical side with jokes with Eddie Griffin, creating that character for the show. And even Ozzy Osbourne, I'm a Christian, I'm not on that side of the river, but I understand, creating that persona or stepping into a persona that you feel very at home with, the Prince of Darkness and the rock and roll and all that type of energy. You know what I'm saying? How can we do that in our own lives, for better or for worse? For better or for worse. Like I say, I think Leos, we understand that everybody is playing a role, everybody is playing a part. I think Shakespeare said it best: the world is a stage, everybody is actors. So, creative ways to win, creative ways to do this. And Leos know this because it rules a house of games and gambling and children. So, think about creative ways to win, because if you got creative with it, you're not just. And Leo is not a season to be born. This is not an earth sign season. This is a season to be integral, loyal, handle business, like I said at the beginning, about the loyalty or not. But it still comes with that playfulness, which is why we get that energy of like, I think if you think about Leo as a little bit lions and certain animals, it's like seriousness, playtime, and strength all goes into one, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think of a good example, but I guess you can see it like even kids. Let's say for kids, right? When you have that pure energy of a kid, it's like you can play with somebody, have intense playground scuffles and things like that, but it still be on the air of fun, like tag or something, hide and go seek, a basketball game, for example. So much competitive energy taken out on the field, on the court. But at the end of the day, you're having fun and you're competing in a strong and integral way. And you're creating teams and jerseys. So it's all about how do you create this in our own life, big risk, big reward. Like I said, Leo rules the house of gambling. So big risk, big reward. How do we encompass that, especially this season right now before we get to Virgo and we overthink it too much? What moves can you make to become fixed in a certain habit to grow this Leo season, So you might see people just doing that this season. There ain't a lot of stories about children coming out. Somebody might get inspired by a child this season, I get inspiration from the younger generation all the time. Not, you could say children or youth, Some people go as far as say children, babies, toddlers, which is valid, like Kid Goku. Or you could say youth, like you watch Dragon Ball Z in your youth and it inspires you. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, with Leos, we're very creative with the things we do, And last but not least, before I get out of here, the last thing you can expect for Leo season, the harsh truth will be revealed. You go watch my other videos on YouTube. 2025 is the year of revelation. A lot of harsh truths will be coming out. A lot of people right now in Leo season will have to look themselves in the mirror or face the fire, or what they say, is hot in the kitchen. Nobody's perfect. We all have flaws. We all have things to work on. We all will be exposed in the light. Like you see this, you can see my face more clear. Harsh truths will be revealed. The biggest example of this is the Donald Trump case with the Epstein and all that. They're already dropping MLK assassination files. Epstein files won't come out, but the fact that they're not coming out on surface, if you're smart enough, you know that there's something being hid, and it's probably going to come out towards the end of this season. Spiritually speaking, you don't need to physically be told that something is going on to know something is going on. The harsh truth is that you have to learn how to think for yourself going forward. The harsh truth is that the people that run things are running pick and rolls. They're running screenplays. And you can take that how you want it. A screenplay or a screenplay. Another creative play on words. I might break that down. But I'm not going to make this too long. I'm almost 20 minutes in. Harsh truths will be revealed. So, recap real quick. What to expect Leo season 2025. Stories about fire. Who's loyal and who's not. Who's showing integrity and who's not. How can you be more creative in your life and have a winning mindset? Think Tom Brady. think creating your own persona, Hulk Hogan type energy, New Moon and Leo ritual, RIP, then you know the harsh truth is gonna come out. It might be harsh for some people. It might be some things you gotta work on this summer, or you might be, what they say, test. You might get through the fire. You might be tested through the fire and come out strong, like most Leos. You might come out true. You got through the season, you sweated it out, and you did your shit. So, that being said, vibe high. Catch y'all in the next video. What to look for Leo season 2K25. Vibe high.